Welcome to the Biography Shorts. I am your narrator, Frank Avella. Here we will be covering the short biography of the wonderful Florence Nightingale. We will be covering several different topics, so let's begin with the introduction. We'll get right to it. Florence Nightingale is perhaps nursing's most important figure. The amount of lives that she has saved is incalculable, but she was more than just a nurse. She was also a statistician and a social reformer. She was able to use statistics and infographics to highlight unsafe medical practices and make an impact with the use of statistics. After the Crimean War, she became known as the, quote, lady with a lamp. Florence worked endless hours, and she would use the lamp to work in darkness, as there was often no electricity. She is an absolute model of professionalism for women. Florence helped to create positive change in the medical field. She improved hospitals all over the world, especially their hygiene and sanitary conditions. Next, we will take a look at her early life. Nightingale was born in Florence, Italy on May 12, 1820. In fact, she got her name Florence from being born in the city of Florence, Italy. Florence grew up in a wealthy British family. Her father was a landowner, and she grew up in an affluent Hampshire. Florence saw nursing as God's will to be done through her. She truly thought nursing was a calling from God to her. Although her family didn't see it that way, her parents forbade nursing as something that was beneath her. Nevertheless, she declined a marriage proposal and enrolled in a nursing school. She began studying nursing at the Institute of St. Vincent de Paul. Now let's take a look at her early career. In the 1850s, she got a nursing job in London. As a young nurse, she took the job quite seriously and recognized the gravity that came with her position. She tried to learn as much as possible. She was quickly promoted to supervisor of nursing. She went on to become the superintendent for the Hospital for Gentlewomen in London. In all her hospitals, she improved sanitary conditions and therefore lowered the death rate of its patients. Back then, it was common for patients to die from poor sanitary conditions that led to infections at hospitals. It can still happen now without preventative measure. Even though she already had a full-time job, she would even volunteer at Middlesex Hospital for no pay. At a time when women were supposed to get married, Florence remained focused on her career and avoided relationships. The next section is the Crimean War. This war pitted the French and British against the Russians. The Crimean War was a result of Russian pressure on Turkey, which threatened British commercial interest in the Middle East. As a result of battle, 18,000 British soldiers were in diminished hospitals. Soldiers were not receiving the proper treatment. Florence Nightingale was personally asked to establish a nursing corps in Crimea. Florence's corps provided decent food, they provided care, and much more. More soldiers were dying from disease than from actual battle injuries. Florence's team alleviated these conditions by digging latrines. The rats began to disappear. Florence essentially turned the hospital around, thus saving thousands of lives. For that, she was also called the Angel of Crimea. The next section up is her philanthropy. Upon returning from Crimea, Nightingale is a hero. Nevertheless, Florence was a very humble person and didn't want any recognition. Florence was awarded the, quote, Nightingale Jewel and given a sum of $250,000. These were gifts from Queen Victoria and the British government. Of course, the selfless Florence used the money to establish St. Thomas Hospital. Florence did not value money. Nightingale also established a school for nursing. She was big into research and would study statistics all the time. In the end, due to Florence, nursing has become an honorable profession, in part because of her. Now, let's take a closer look at her personal life. Florence Nightingale never married and never had children. She was dedicated to nursing and had to oversee the day-to-day operations of her hospitals. Some scholars believe that she remained a virgin until the day she died. She was married to her work, and countless lives have been saved because of her commitment and sacrifice. Infections kept her ill for the remainder of her life as well. She was often in great pain. Although bedridden, she continued her work in this condition from her bed. She was still able to write and continue to research ways to improve hospitals. Florence Nightingale dies on August 12, 1910. She requested a quiet funeral. The British Empire mourned her death, but honored her wishes for a quiet funeral. And the last section, my favorite section, fun facts. Florence Nightingale was a pioneer in using graphical data. Florence was known for communicating data on deaths, disease, infection, using line charts, pie charts, and other infographics. Florence was also fluent in many languages, including French, German, Italian, and English. There is such a thing as the Florence Nightingale effect. It describes a nurse who treats their patients with love and care. Those patients then heal at a faster rate. And here is a quote from Florence herself. "I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took any excuse." So that was basically everything you ever needed to know about the Florence Nightingale. Be sure to check out the next biography short on Eric the Red. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Click the bell on the subscription icon to get notifications. Please like and share this video. And most importantly, check the description links to resources as well.